As you know, Republicans in the House and Senate have, over the last 30 years, passed numerous laws making it impossible, illegal, difficult, or whatever to fund any basic research into the effects of guns in our society. Nonetheless, there have been a couple of studies that have been done that are pretty solid. One was done by Oxford University, was published in 2004. Another one by the National Bureau of Economic Research, a more private organization. That was based on just stand your ground laws. Texas A&M University. The one in particular that was published in the American Journal of Public Health, Professor Michael Siegel at Boston University and two co-authors wrote this. They compiled data on firearm homicides from all 50 states between 1981 and 2010. They adjusted for age, gender, race, ethnicity, urbanization, poverty, unemployment, income, education, income inequality, divorce rate, alcohol use, violent crime rate, nonviolent crime rate, hate crime rate, number of hunting licenses, age-adjusted non-fire homicide rate, incarceration rate, and suicide rate. So they adjusted for all those things, and here's what they found. This is a quote from the study. For each 1% point increase in household gun ownership, firearm homicide rate increased by 0.9%. Here are some of the details that have come out of some of those other studies. Drivers who carry guns are 44% more likely than unarmed drivers to make obscene gestures, 77% more likely to follow aggressively. Among Texans convicted of serious crimes, those with concealed handgun licenses were sentenced for threatening someone with a firearm 4.8 times, 480 times more frequently, percent more frequently than those without. Good guys stop shootings by armed civilians. In the last 30 years, 0. Chances that a shooting in an emergency room involves guns taken from guards, 1 in 5. For every gun used in self-defense in the home, there are 7 assaults or murders, 11 suicide attempts, and 4 accidents involving guns in or around the home. And it goes on and on. So, anyhow, with us is Carl Higbie, a former Navy SEAL, founder and president of the Citizen League, a pro-gun group, thecitizenleague.com, and Carl Higbie, Higbie.com are the websites. Carl, welcome to the program.
Well, thanks for having me on again, Tom.
So, I should say welcome back. So, what is your solution to the problem that we have in the United States, 5% of the world's population and 50% of the guns in the hands of civilians?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's pretty much a gun for every American right now, 310 million said guns in known circulation. The issue here is not a gun issue. I mean, you look at all these mass crimes, it's not, sure, tons of crimes are committed with guns, but many, many, many times more crime are committed without guns. And the issue is personal responsibility. The government could ban guns today. Okay, they could ban all guns, and it still wouldn't fix the problem. They banned heroin, and guess what? It's still out there in droves. So the issue comes down to a social, what are we going to do socially as a group, as a citizenry?
So you're calling for us to end all laws?
No, not at all.
Okay, which laws? You've established that laws, criminals don't follow laws, so why have those laws? So let's go through some of the laws we should get rid of. Obviously, drugs and prostitution, that's the libertarian standard. Let's see. Should we get rid of laws about stopping for red lights?
I've never smoked it, but I think laws are the reasonable laws we have now. I think they're reasonable. I think they work.
I had a cab driver the other day that ran a red light. He completely ignored that law. Should we just do away with the law?
No, I mean I think that's a clear and concise point of why we shouldn't run a red light because another car's going to be coming. But I'm not saying.
But wait a minute. You're saying sometimes laws actually affect behavior?
I think you're taking this to the next step.
I am, clearly. I mean, this is, when Australia had their 19th major gun massacre, they did a nationwide gun buyback program, bought back some 600,000 or 800,000 weapons, and they made it, fairly simple and straightforward. You can still own a gun in Australia. You just have to demonstrate that you're competent, and you're proficient, and that you actually have a reason to own it. Now, acceptable reasons include personal protection, target practice, hunting. That's all fine. But they haven't had a mass shooting in Australia since 1998 when they did this.
Well, but look at the highest crime, the highest murder rate in the world is socialist-controlled, gun-banned Honduras. The absolute lowest murder rate in the world is Switzerland. Okay, Switzerland, you must own a gun in Switzerland.
No, actually, you must be in the militia in Switzerland if you're a male between the ages of 17 and 45, and your guns are held at the local community's armory. They are typically not in your house. With regard to Switzerland, with regard to Honduras,
retire from any civil service, you're allowed to keep your duty weapon.
With regard to Honduras, I think you have to have a conversation with Ronald Reagan about that. You know, sending death squads into a country is a great way to screw it up, and we started doing that in the 80s. None of that, Carl, nice digressions, but none of that addresses the fact that that all the research indicates that the more guns you have, the more people are going to die from guns, particularly suicides, accidental deaths caused by children finding the guns, and homicides, you know, moment of passion homicides. And that for every 1% increase in gun ownership, you've got a 0.9% increase in the homicide rate. That doesn't even include the suicide rate. More guns, more deaths. How do we get fewer guns?
That's actually not true at all. The murder rate is much higher in Great Britain per capita than it is here in America, and they've banned guns.
We're not talking about Great Britain. We're talking about the United States, and I don't recall Great Britain having had a mass shooting recently.
The stats don't support that. If you want to really get to the bottom of this, it comes.
I'm not talking about murder rates, Carl. I'm talking about gun violence. I'm talking about suicide. I'm talking about children killing each other.
Away, you lose gun violence. I'm talking
Overall
overall violence.
If you take, you could talk overall violence all day long, and you could pull out the example of the Democratic Republic of Congo or something if you want, or Syria. None of that is relevant. The United States right now is experiencing an epidemic of mass killings with high-powered weapons. Wouldn't it be a fairly simple process? And for that matter, outside of the advocates over at the Small Penis Gun Club over on Facebook, which you can get to with smallpenisgunclub.org, outside of them, you know, the people who are just like profoundly insecure and feel the need to have a lot of guns to make up for that, why should anybody in the United States be, you know, basically collecting large quantities of weapons? I mean, we hear about these kids who have, like, you know, involved in these shootings who have 5, 10, 15, 20 weapons. What the hell do you need that for?
Well, it's America. We don't have to answer that. I mean, what do you want to do? You want to ban all guns, Tom? Is that what you want to do?
No, I don't.
Okay, what is your solution?
My solution is very straightforward. When we figured out in the 19-teens and 1910s that the automobiles that we were selling were starting to go fast enough to kill people, and large numbers of people started dying as a result of them, we took some very, very simple and straightforward steps. Number one, we said that the car must be registered from the time of manufacture until it's destroyed, so we always know who's responsible for it. Number two, we said you must have a driver's license. You must demonstrate that you know how to use this deadly tool. And number three, we said you must have liability insurance, so if you accidentally kill or harm somebody, they will be covered. I think it's a disgrace that the children who were killed in Newtown, if they had been killed by Adam Lanza driving as a drunk in a car, Geico would be paying them, each one of them, you know, $1 million. But because they were killed with guns, Congress has basically made it impossible for them to even get burial fees.
Yeah, the fundamental difference, though, is that driving a car is not protected by a constitutional right.
Actually, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. It's Article 1, Section 8. The government has the right to appropriate money to build roads. The roads are obviously there for all of us. It's part of the commons.
Yeah, roads. We're not talking about business vehicles, though. So the issue, Tom, is...
Yeah, the Second Amendment, Carl, doesn't give you an individual right to own a gun either.
Well, look, we've allowed our society to slip further and further away from morality. You want to really stop
Exactly. Yes, I would like to stop that slip. I would like to get control of these guns. I'm so over all these men compensating for the size of their penises by trying to say, oh, I've got a gun. Oh, I'm going to go out in public with a gun. I'm going to open carry with a gun. Come on, Carl. This is a pathology.
You know, you would, and that police officer's going to come with a gun. And you know what? The first thing you do when an intruder with a gun comes into your house
you run.
But the cops get there in time.
You run. If you have a gun, the odds are that you will be killed. Carl Higbie, carlhigbie.com, thecitizenleague.com are the websites. Carl, thanks for dropping by.
Thanks a lot, Tom. I appreciate it.
Good talking to you. We'll be back.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
So, what do we do? I think I'm offering fairly straightforward. Oh, and let's get rid of weapons of war. We don't need weapons of war in the United States in civilian hands.